Hello everyone, welcome. It's Juliet here. Today we are going to be learning how to make this autumnal pendant, which I think is kind of cool. It uses these Czech glass maple leaf shapes and 10mm cabochon as well. Little glass cabochon there. So all of these materials to make this pendant did come out of this month's treasure box from Potomac Beads, which is called Leaf Season. And actually we got this cord necklace in here as well, so I just stuck it on there because why not? So the pendant itself is pretty sturdy, like it's a little bit flexible, but it doesn't flop around. It's has support on the back, as you can see here. Okay, so you know, it's not gonna like flop around. It's pretty sturdy, and I just think it's really cool. I think for autumn it's kind of fun. So when I made this one, I didn't really pay much attention to the leaves, and then I kind of was like, oh look, these ones, the red is on the outside, and this one and once you made it, you can't flip these around, so that's kind of annoying. So I'm being a little bit more careful this time, and I've chosen out my leaves that I want to use, and I'm placing them so that the red is on the outside. So and excuse me, my voice is a little bit croaky. Okay. So these materials, as I said, all came out of the Potomac Beads treasure box. So I'll just quickly run through. So we got a pack of these Czech glass maple leaves. Now these were only in the treasure box, but they do have some other colors of the maple leaves, or maybe you have some in your stash. So this is what they are. They're Czech glass maple leaves. They are 11 by 13 millimeters, okay? These are like the opaque red ones. But anyway, if you type in maple leaf on Potomac Beads, I think there's like some other colors that will pop up. Okay, so you'll need 4 of those. Then we also need some seed beads. So I am using the ones that came in our box. These are Azuki seed beads, metallic dark bronze, 11 O's. Now these are quite skinny. They're almost like Czech beads, okay? So you may have to adjust numbers. You should be fine for the bezel, okay? The bezel should be okay. But when you get into the more leaf bit, like here where there's a whole bunch, you might want to adjust a number up or down, you know, if you're using a different brand of seed bead, okay? So depending on your seed beads that you're using, you may have to like take one out or add an extra one in. Well, I doubt you'd have to add an extra one in. You may have to take one out somewhere just to get it right. But the bezel, you should be fine for that, no matter which seed beads you're using there, okay? I'm also using some 8O. Again, these are Azuki silver lined light rose, which is quite a pretty color. I actually really like this color. You don't need as many as I've put out here. There's only a few in here. There are only 8, I believe. There's one at the end of each flower just to give a little bit of sparkle, and there's one down here. You can see it better on the back, just one there, okay? So sorry, I keep holding it up here and you can't see it. Then you are also going to need here, these are Potomac crystal rounds. So these are rondelles basically, and they are 3mm stringing length and 4mm wide. Okay, so the 3mm crystal rondelles, okay? And then we have here a cabochon. Where's the, sorry. So these are just Czech glass cabochons, 10mm. It says white blue luster. I don't think that's correct. I think these are actually the turquoise bronze color, but Anyway, you can change up the colors to be what you want. I actually really like the way this looks with the blue in the middle and the red on the outside. I think it looks quite nice. You know, it's kind of, I like that. Anyway, okay, and then I'm using some DragonThread, the medium size, which is the size 6. And you're going to need, and like a whole wingspan, so like just stretch your arms out as far as they go and cut that off. And then I'm just using a size 10 beading needle today as well. Okay, all right, so let's get started. Okay, so we're going to begin by beading a base to put our cabochon onto. So you're going to pick up 4 of your seed beads, and you can see how skinny these beads are. They're really quite skinny. Go ahead, push them down. You should be fine though if you're using Miyuki or something like that. I would just go through all of those again just to form them into a little loop and then pass through that very first one more time, okay? And when you pull that, it's going to form a little shape like this. And then I'm going to turn it over so I can sew in a counterclockwise direction. If you are left-handed, you're going to want to hold your tail in your right hand, your needle in your left hand, and you're going to be sewing in a clockwise direction, okay? All right. So just get your thread on the bottom of whichever hand, and then you're going to be sewing upwards, okay? All right, so we're going to pop 1 seed bead in between each of these 4 beads. So just go ahead, pick up 1 seed bead and sew into the next bead. Pick up 1, sew into the next bead. You're going to do that 4 times. I'm just turning around so that I have a better angle here. So 3 are in, and just keep that tail on the back of your work so it doesn't get stuck on the front, okay? And when you get to the last bead, you can step up into that very first corner bead, okay? So I'm just adding that last one on and I'm stepping up. Okay, so we now have a shape like this. Now we're going to pick up 3 seed beads this time. And I'm coming out, oops, that's 4, 3 seed beads. I'm coming out from this corner. I'm going to sew into the next corner. And I'm going to do that also 4 times. So it's going to look like this. Go pick up 3 again, go into the next corner. Looks like a little heart right now. Okay, pick up 3 more into the point here. And on the last one, you're going to pick up your 3 and you're going to look at your original diamond. And so that's the one that you're going to go into. So not the farthest away one, but kind of the second one in, okay? And then you're going to pass up through the next 2 so that you are coming out from the middle of that first group of 3, okay? So you should kind of have a larger diamond and you should be coming out from the middle of the one that's lined up with our original 4. You should be coming out from one of those, okay? All right, now this time we're going to pick up 2 seed beads, 1 of our 3 by 4 millimeter crystal rondelles, and 2 more seed beads, okay? So 2, a rondelle, and 2. And you're going to pass into the very next corner bead, like the second bead of that group of 3, okay? Right here. Again, you're going to do that a total of 4 times, so you have to do it 3 more times, and I'll show you on the last one where you're sewing into, okay? I'll just speed through this. Okay, so on your last one, you can find where your crystal is, count back 2, and then the one right before that, that's where you're going to sew into, okay? And then go ahead and step up through all 3 of those seed beads right before your crystal, and then pass through that crystal. Okay, so it now looks like this. And now we're going to do the same thing again. So you're going to pick up 2 seed beads, 1 crystal, and 2 seed beads. Okay, and you're going to sew straight into the next crystal over. So like this. You're going to obviously do that again a total of 4 times. Okay, and when you're putting your last one on, it's quite obvious where you're going to sew into is this rondelle right here, okay? And we are not going to step up into the next one. We're going to stay coming out from this one here on the inside, okay? So you're coming out here. You're going to pick up 7 seed beads. Okay, so 7. And you're going to skip this outer rondelle that we added in the last round. You're going to sew into the next rondelle over, okay? And this is going to raise up and kind of create a little bridge right here, okay? So we're going to do that 4 times, picking up 7. Okay, and when you've added your very last loop, okay, like this, you're going to sew up and you're going to exit from the 4th bead on the very first loop that you put on here. So you should be coming out from the 4th bead, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? You're going to get your cabochon and just kind of hold it in place right now, okay? And then here you're going to pick up 4 of your seed beads, and you're going to sew into the 4th bead on the next loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And if your seed beads don't pull in tight enough here, okay, you may need to just do 3 instead, depending on your seed beads, but I think it should work. And you're going to do that all the way around, adding 4 seed beads into each of those, the middle bead on each of those loops, okay? Okay, and when you're adding your last group of 4, you're going to sew into the 4th one, which should be where your thread is coming out to begin with, that first group, okay? And pull as tight as you can. Now, this is not very tight right now, but it should be tight enough to hold in your cabochon, okay? You're going to have to sew around all of these again at least 1 more time, possibly 2 more times until it feels really tight, okay? So just reinforce that entire inner circle here, okay? Okay, so once you've reinforced and it feels solid, which it should, okay, you're going to go out through one of those corner seed beads, and then you're going to make your way down to one of the middle rondelles. So not the ones that are lined up with the corner, but one of the ones in the middle, okay? So just follow your 3 seed beads that go down the side and pass into that middle rondelle. Okay. So I'm coming out from one of those side rondelles right here, okay? You're going to pick up 4 of your seed beads. You're going to pick up 1 rondelle. You're going to pick up 7 seed beads. Okay, so we got 4, 1 rondelle, and then a group of 7. Okay, so 4, rondelle, 7. You can go ahead and push all of that down. You're going to pick up also 180, okay? Then you're going to pick up one of your leaves. You're going to sew down through the top of the leaf, going down towards the bottom of the leaf, okay? Like this. Okay, so you've got that on, okay? You're going to look at the next rondelle over, which is like the one that's lined up with the corner. You're going to sew backwards towards your thread through that rondelle. So here's my thread coming out. I'm going backwards through that rondelle there, okay? And it's going to kind of, when you pull it, it's going to have, you're going to have a loop, and then you're going to have your leaf, okay? You're going to sew back up through that leaf, and then you're going to sew forward through this 80. So I came up here, I'm going to sew in the direction that I want to go, which is like onwards, okay, through that 80 right there, okay? And then just take a second and try and center your leaf and that 80, okay? Then we're going to pick up the same thing that's here except backwards. So we're going to pick up 7 of our seed beads. Okay, so 7. Then we're going to pick up 1 rondelle, and then we're going to pick up 4 of our seed beads. Oh, that's 5. Sorry. Okay, so 7, 1, 4. And then you're going to look up here to the next rondelle, which is on the flat side, okay? This one here, and you're going to sew forward into that rondelle in the direction that you're working, okay? And then that's going to put another loop on the other side of our leaf. Now right now our leaves can turn if they want to, so you can flip them over. So just be aware that can happen, okay? So just, you know, make sure before we put the back on that you do turn your leaf the right way, because when you're working it might have flipped around and you didn't notice, okay? All right, so we're going to repeat this now. And we're going to add another leaf right here. So you're going to pick up 4. You're going to pick up a rondelle, and you're going to pick up 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then you're going to pick up an 80. You're going to pick up your leaf, sewing down through the top of the leaf, okay? You're going to sew backwards through the next rondelle right here. You're going to sew up through your maple leaf. You're going to sew forward through the 8-0. Just take a second to kind of center that, and then you're going to pick up 7 seed beads. Your next rondelle, and then 4 more seed beads. And then you're going to sew through the next rondelle on your bezel. Okay, so go ahead and repeat this process 2 more times. So you're picking up 4 rondelle, 7, and a seed bead. You're going through your leaf, you're sewing backwards through here, you're sewing up through your leaf, forward through your 8-0, 7, rondelle, 4, and then sew through the next rondelle. Okay, so I'll come back when I have finished adding my other 2 on. Okay, so I just added my last strand right here of 7, my rondelle, and I came out through my my central rondelle. Okay, so you'll notice a few things here. Number 1, it's really floppy. These strands are going all over, and these can turn around. Okay, so these are all issues that we need to address at this point. Okay, all right, so you're going to sew up the first 2 seed beads in this group of 4. So come out from the second seed bead. You're going to pick up one of your 8-0 seed beads. Okay, and you're going to sew down. So I'm coming out like as if I were sewing around my piece. I'm going to sew down through the 2 on the side I just came from. Okay, so you're going to sew down those 2, and then you're going to sew through your rondelle again on that central bit. Okay, so that is going to kind of help a little bit with our shaping right here. Okay, but you can see it's still kind of bleh, right? You're going to sew up until you get up to the 8-0 on the top. So if you do not have dragon thread, I would recommend using a size 4 fire line for this. I don't really recommend nylon because we actually need a little bit of sturdiness to help us keep our threads, this outer section, a little bit more sturdy. Okay, so I would use one of the kind of polyethylene type braided lines for this. Okay, all right, so you're exiting now from, you've added your 8-0 here, you're exiting now from this 8-0 up at the top. We're going to flip our piece over. Okay, and make sure right now that your leaf, this leaf is turned the right way that you want it. So that is the top side that I want, so that's correct, because in a second you're not going to be able to change it. Okay, so you flipped over to the back. We're on the back now. You're going to pick up, for me it works out 9 of these Azuki beads. Now if you're using Miyuki or something, it might be 8. Okay, so you'll have to just check, but for me, I'm using a 9. So 3, 3, and 3. Okay. I'm coming out from my 8-0. I'm going to look down and I'm going to sew whatever side I'm on. So here I'm coming out, looks like the right hand side because I'm on the back. So through that rondelle at the base, okay, you're going to pick up 9 more. Okay, so I've got 9 more, and then I'm going to sew forward. So I'm coming up here, I'm going to sew again into that 8/0 that's at the top, and you're going to pull that nice and tight, and that is going to stop your leaf from being able to flip over. These are going to hold it in position so that it's not going to flip over. Okay, so now that's the front. I can't now turn it. Okay, all right, so we're going to sew down all the way to the base so just continue forward like normal. Okay, all the way down through all of these beads. And this is all good because it is, like I said, strengthening and stiffening these outer lines right here. Okay, when you get to the base, go ahead, sew through that rondelle that's there. Okay, then you're going to sew up through the first 2 seed beads. You're going to pick up an 8/0, and you're going to sew down the previous 2 bottom seed beads. Okay, so we've got our little 8/0 in here. You're going to sew forward through that rondelle. Oops, kind of hard to see the thread because it's you know, smoke colored. And then you're going to sew all the way up to the top. Okay, so this is now kind of starting to help provide a little bit of strength here so that it's not as floppy as it was before. Okay, and then we have one more thing to do after this round. Okay, so when you get up to the top, again, check that your leaf is flipped the way that you want it to be. This one has turned around, so I need to flip that the right way. Okay, so that's the front. Then flip over to the back. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to add your 9, so through here, and add your 9 and come back up here. Okay, when you've added your 2 sets of 9, flip over to the front and go ahead, sew down and all the way down up to add your 8/0, and you're just going to do this for the next 2 leaves as well. Okay, so I will come back when I am finishing that up. Okay, I just added my last 2 groups of 9, and I'm still up at the 8/0 up at the top. You're going to sew down and you're going to exit from your rondelle. So don't go all the way down to the bottom. When you are on your last one, just go down so that you're coming out from that rondelle. Okay. All right, so you're exiting the rondelle. So now your leaves at least have a back, so they should not flip around. It is still a little bit soft, as you can see here. It's kind of flopping around still a bit, so we're going to address that now. Okay, so you're going to pick up 3 of your seed beads, 1 of your rondelles, and 1 more seed bead. Okay, so 3 rondelle and a seed bead, and you're going to look where your 8/0 is. There should be a flat edge right here. You're going to there's 4 seed beads and then like the 2 corner beads, right? So the 4 right here, you're going to sew through those middle 2. So I'm coming out on this side, so I'm sewing in this direction. Okay, if you only fit 3 in there, if you were using bigger beads, just sew through that middle 1. Okay, but we have 4, so we need to sew through 2 to make it even. Okay, and when you pull that, it's going to kind of create a support for your leaf here. It's going to kind of lift it up a little bit. Okay, you're going to pick up 1 seed bead and you're going to sew outwards through that rondelle that we just added right here. Okay, and the 1 seed bead, so Sorry, just got looped. Will sit next to the other seed bead, okay, like this. And I'm just kind of pulling that. And then you're going to pick up 3 seed beads. You're going to sew into the next rondelle, and you're going to sew all the way over around the petal again, just to again help stiffen up this outside edge. Okay, so you're going to sew around until you come out from the next rondelle. And this this is our last round, but I find that this does kind of make everything sturdy, having to, you know, sew around again. It just kind of smooths that edge, and it gives it all the support that it needs. Okay, so again, we're going to pick up 3 seed beads, 1 rondelle, and 1 more seed bead. Okay, you're sewing through the middle 2 beads right here. Give it a pull. Pick up 1 seed bead. Oops. 1 seed bead. So back down through that rondelle that you just added. Give it a pull again. Okay, and then pick up 3 and into the next rondelle and up and around the side there. And these should sit kind of next to each other like so. Okay, so obviously you'll do that for the next 2 sides, and you can see already how much sturdier it is. Like, it's not flopping. Okay, like the 2 that I've done here, it's pretty sturdy now. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then you can when you get back to the beginning, you can weave into the center and meet your starting tail and tie it off. Okay, so I'll finish that up. Oh, one more thing I need to show you while I'm thinking about it is to make a little loop for the top. I should have thought of that. Okay, I'll do that one here, and then I'll finish the next one. Okay, so when you get up to one of your 8 O's, okay, you're going to pick up 4 of your seed beads. You're going to sew into that 8O again, okay, like this. You're going to flip over to the back. You're going to sew down your 9 seed beads on the back right here, okay. And we're doing this because if you don't do this, this petal will kind of stretch out a little bit. So we need to reinforce this bit right here in order to put the weight of our thread on this area, which is not going to stretch because it has the maple leaf. Okay, so you want to sew down through here, then sew forward through that 8O again. I think I got looped right here. Yep. Okay, give that a pull. Then you're going to sew up through your first seed bead on that group of 4. You're going to add 1 seed bead. You're going to sew into the next seed bead. Pick up 1, sew into the next seed bead. And pick up 1, sew into the last seed bead, and then through the 8O. And you can continue on down through the next few seed beads as well. Okay, get back to the beginning, and then if you do this on your last one, then you can weave in. So you will have this little loop right here, okay, on one side. Okay, and if you wanted to put a dangle, you could, you know, put one on the other side as well. And that sewing through this will stop it from putting pressure on the sides. Okay, All right, I need to finish off this reinforcing in this area here. So I'll do that and then I'll come back and show you what I did to finish it. Okay, so I just reinforced my last bit right here. This has gone a little, there we go. Okay, so I'm just flipping over to the back and I'm gonna sew down through the last 4 where I can actually see what I'm doing. Because you have that little bridge there now that kind of covers up, so you need to flip to the back so you can see what you're doing. And then you're going to sew through the rondelle. Okay. You're going to follow the line of beads, so you're going to sew through here, 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 and then circle around. You can meet up with your thread right here, tie a knot, and tie in the ends, okay? So you're going to do that. There we go. And so you can see, I mean, I can just kind of hold it with like a finger and it's not flopping down, so it's pretty sturdy. I mean, it does move slightly, but not much, okay? So yeah, that is the little pendant right there. And what I did was I had an oval jump ring. These are a little bit sturdier, so this is quite a thick one as well. So I just used an oval jump ring and attached it on. And that way I don't need to worry about the beads aren't going to slip out. Nothing's going to slip out. So if you can get your hands on oval jump rings, these are really good for things like this, okay? So yeah, that's how I finished mine. And hopefully you can finish yours as well. So there's my second one. I really love this. I think they're so pretty, like, you know, they're kind of almost like, I don't know, gothic, but yeah, they're good for autumn. They're very autumnal. They're also kind of Christmassy, I think. So yeah, anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next week for another video. Take care. Bye.